Sometimes smelling your own ass will lead you into a world of trouble. Let's talk about love, sex, and marriage. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is Love, Sex, and Marriage Season 2, Episode 4. Yo, Love, Sex, and Marriage is really doing big things in Season 2, and I'm literally glued to the edge of my seat with every episode. But before I get started, look in the description box and log on to get your tickets to the Love, Sex, and Marriage stage play, which will be going down on August 2nd at the Black Box Theater in Silver Springs, Maryland. So if you're in the DMV, go down in the description box, click that link and get your tickets. Also, you can read the synopsis on what the play is going to be about, but also to announce that Project Briggs, which I serve on the board, we are actually a promotional partner for Love, Sex, and Marriage, the stage play. So when you get your tickets, and if you go into the promo code and type Briggs, you can get a 15% discount on tickets and merchandise. So go in there, click that link to get your tickets and type Briggs in the promo code so you can get your discount. So yeah, I am so looking forward to this play. I already got my VIP sticker in the mail, and I am ready for this show, and I can't wait to meet the cast and crew because I am such a big fan of this show. I've been reviewing the web series since season 1, and season 2 is definitely fire. So let me begin. Now, the episode pardon me. Okay, so the episode opens. Cortez is out on his date with Sean, the guy he met at the party. And, him and Sean are going back and forth. He mentions to Sean that he's looking for a part-time job. And Sean lets him know that he's a set producer. So immediately I'm already looking at Sean with a different set of eyes, like, what's really going on with you? And like Cortez was like, well, I always wanted to be an actor, I want to be on camera and all of that. And he shares his aspirations. And, Sean is like, well, cool. I can get you, I can get you into the studio, and I can put you down as an extra, So, of course, Cortez is just head over heels thinking like, wow, I meet this nice guy and he wants to put me in one of his movies. Oh, I can't wait. Completely gullible and not really seeing the signs. But also what happens in this scene, Cortez sees that Vontae is on his date with Donald, and he mentions it to Sean, and he says that, yeah, I see Vontae's on a date, but that ain't Rick that he with. I don't know what's going on there. But and I'm like, see, and then we got Cortez pretty much, looking at this situation, coming to his own conclusions. So then we see that, Vontae and Donald are on their date, and it's obvious that Donald wants more, from Vontae, that he really is into him. But Vontae is like, look, I'm only here so I can get this extension. I don't need nobody that I know seeing me here with you. So let's just do this, and let's, keep things the way they are. You already know I got a boyfriend. I ain't here for it. And then Donald's like, so you mean to tell me you're just gonna use me? Hell yeah, Donald, because you pretty much told him that if he goes on a date with you, you would give him an extension. He ain't going on a date with you because he like you, fool. But it's obvious that Donald likes him. And Donald gets in his feelings and asks for a Lynchburg lemonade. And I'm like, Donald, you doing too damn much. So then we see at Vontae's restaurant, Ashley and Andre have planned to do this special party to help get sales in so that Vontae won't lose the restaurant. They got a special party and everything set up. We see that Ken comes to the restaurant to talk to Vontae, but they let him know that Vontae's on a date. And he's like, oh, he's on a date with Ken. He's on a date with Rick. Oh, that's cute, but he's like, well, I can just come in. And they was like, nah, the restaurant's closed. And they said that, but it's still opening hours. He's like, yeah, but we closed early tonight. We got something going on. The cooks are sick, and it's a virus going on. So they just make up this lie to get Ken out the way. So Ken finally leaves. So they pretty much get things popping. But then we see 2 hours later, there's chaos up in the restaurant. There was a fire, and the fire department had to come to put out the fire. So part of Vontae's restaurant pretty much was vandalized due to the fire. And Vontae comes in, and he's like, why in the hell did I turn on the 11 o'clock news and my restaurant is the topic of discussion? And they explained that the go-go dancer that they hired, he had a candle up in his ass, and let's just say he had a gassy moment and ignited some flames. And I was like, oh my God. But the thing is, the liquor was flying off the shelves, and they was making that money until that moment. But Vontae was like, I would ask for both of y'all pink slips right now, but I need y'all asses. But then Ashley assures him, I know a contractor that can come and fix things up. But then Vontae is also saying, you better be glad I got insurance too, so we can get everything, we can get everything running back to normal. But Ashley suggests that she knows a contractor that can do it for cheap, so things are good. So then we get a scene where Cortez is in his bathrobe, and he's cleaning and singing, doing his thing. And I have to say, yeah, Cortez is thick. Yes, child. Yes, God. So he's just doing his thing, and then next thing you know, we see that Darrin, Jeremy, and Rick come in, and then all of a sudden, Cortez is startled. He was like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just cleaning, and he kind of excuses himself. Jeremy immediately picks up like, wow, it looks like little cuz is thick. You hitting that? Going to Darrin, and Darrin was like, hell no, I ain't hitting that. He's like, but it's just been stressful having a third person in the house, and then pretty much also Jeremy mentions that, yeah, and it seemed to me that new meat over there is kind of naive, and they all agree that he is. Cortez is completely green. But then all of a sudden we see that Cortez comes back. So pretty much, Rick pretty much, pulls him in, and he's like, yo, Cortez, come in. How you doing, man? What's been going on with you? He's like, oh, I've been doing good. But then he's like, oh, but I'm sorry to hear about, you and Vontae. How long have you guys been broken up? And Rick was like, what? What you talking about? And I was just like, Cortez, you doing way too much, bruh. Way too much. Because first of all, you can't go by what you see. And if anything, you should have talked to Vontae first and talked to him in regard to that situation, instead of going to Rick and blowing something out and you don't really know all the facts. So of course Rick is kind of like, what the fuck is he talking about? But he kind of was like, then Cortez is like, oh, nothing, it's okay. And then he just kind of goes off about his business. And then we see that Darrin and Rick, are discussing, Darrin and Ken's upcoming wedding. And we can see that Jeremy is feeling some kind of way, because we know that we all already know the history of what happened between Jeremy and Ken, and that Jeremy wants Ken for himself. So then we see that Jeremy interjects and says that he ran into this guy Xavier, who is Darrin's ex-boyfriend. And he's saying that, yeah, at one point it was you and Xavier before it was you and Ken. Yeah, he asked about you and all that. And then pretty much, Rick asked the question to Darrin, that if Xavier were to come in front of you butt naked, what would you do? He would say that I would literally wrap a towel around his ass and send him on his way, And then, again, Jeremy puts the question, but what if Ken would have slept with your best friend? I'm like, Jeremy, you are asking for somebody to split your head open, because you just won't quit. And he was saying, and then like Darrin was like, man, Ken wouldn't do nothing like that. I trust Ken. He's like, oh, okay. I'm like, this is not going to be good when this shit gets out. But then Jeremy tells Darrin that, Xavier wanted your number, and he said, did you give him my number? He's like, nah, but I got his number. But, if there's nothing going on, won't you give him a call? If everything's good, it shouldn't be no problem, right? You and Ken got something solid, right? Okay. And I'm like, oh, Jeremy, you messy motherfucker. Like, you are seriously trying to set him up with his ex, so therefore you could possibly break up him and Ken so you can get Ken for yourself. And I'm like, Jeremy, this shit is going to backfire and it's going to fuck you up bad. Especially when more gets revealed about what you did, especially what went down between you and Andre at that party. So he pretty much leaves the number with Ken, and as Jeremy does, kind of because he's kind of like the dark cloud, he pretty much drops some shit and then he leaves. And then Rick leaves with him, but Rick tells Darrin, throw that damn number in the garbage. But Darrin looks at the numbers like, yeah, I should throw this shit away, but I'm gonna hold on to it just in case. And I'm like, oh hell, it's about to be some shit down the line, and I'm just waiting to see how this is all gonna play out. So then we get a scene where Vontae, Ken, Andre, and Cortez are talking. Vontae's talking about what went down at the restaurant, about the whole incident and how it ended up on the news, and that I'm really and then he also mentions that he's at wit's end and he's trying to save his restaurant. And Ken was like, oh, that explains why you've been acting really weird lately, like something's going on with your restaurant and everything. And then while in the midst of that, Cortez brings up seeing him and Donald on their date, and he says, oh yeah, and I mentioned it to Rick, and Rick knew nothing about it. Vontae was like, first of all, Cortez, you need to stay in a child's place and don't be telling nobody what my business is and who I'm with. And, and then like Ken immediately interjected, was like, why would you tell Rick that before talking to Vontae first? Exactly. So, and then like, Andre was like, yeah, that's violation of girl code. And then Cortez was like, but I'm not a girl. And they was like, hell, you could have fooled me, because that was some bullshit. You should have kept your mouth shut. But then he pretty much tells him that the guy that I was supposedly on the date on was a guy from the bank. I went out with him so he can buy me more time, and that he owes $20,000 or he's going to lose his restaurant. And then, Andre's like, yeah, you're going to lose your restaurant and I'm going to lose my job. So it's like, the restaurant pretty much is gonna, if he loses his restaurant, it's gonna affect Ashley as well as Andre, as we all know. So then we really get the scene that really is the shocker of them all. We see that Cortez goes to Sean's house, and he's saying that, this is my studio, this is where I make the magic happen. He gives Dante a drink. Dante just drinks it and then gives him a media release, and Cortez just signs it on the dotted line, and then tells him that his role is going to be like an improv role. And I'm just sitting back like, bruh, seriously? You are completely naive. But again, as I said in the intro, smelling your own ass can lead to a world of trouble. I know this for myself because I've been in a situation, not as crazy what's going on with Cortez, but I kind of fell for a guy and was completely gullible and made a decision that I regretted. And it's like Cortez got literally lured into a situation that can not only ruin his reputation, but could also ruin his life. And I'm sitting back like, bruh, everybody knows that if you meet somebody and they promise you a role in a movie or something, it's always smart to bring somebody with you as backup to make sure that things go smoothly. And you never sign anything without reading it. He didn't even read this shit. He just signed it because he's gung-ho over Sean. He's head over heels for him, but he's not paying attention to the signs that something's up with this dude. So then we get a scene where Ken comes into the house. He's looking for Cortez, but he runs into Darrin. And he asks Darrin, what's going on with Cortez? And Darrin tells him that, like, well, Cortez is on some date with some guy. And immediately Ken goes into protective mode because that's his little cousin. He's like, nah, I need to call this fool because he's completely green and he don't need to be just out here with anybody. But then Darren was like, nah, he grown, we got the place to ourselves, So next thing you know, we see that Ken and Darren get freaky in the kitchen and they was getting their life. So then the next time we see Cortez is leaning on the couch, and obviously he's been drugged. He has 2 drinks and he's completely just inebriated. Sean begins filming him on the couch, and then all of a sudden these 2 guys come in, and they was like, oh yeah, we about to tear this ass up. And it really reminded me of the movie The Skinny with Jesse Smollett, where one of his friends gets lured into this kind of like this date rape situation where the guys drugged him and they both violated him and he was a virgin. It's the same case with Cortez because Cortez is a virgin, and after his makeover, yeah, he's feeling himself, he's smelling his ass, but yet is literally put himself in a vulnerable position to get taken advantage of, which actually goes down and everything. So therefore he's like, I feel really dizzy and all of that. So Sean gives him a pill, and one of the guys literally forces it down his mouth. So he's literally about to get raped by 2 men on camera, and anybody can see this because he done already signed the media release, so they can make money off of it, and Cortez won't make a dime, but it will ruin his reputation. It could possibly ruin his stature at his university. So then we see that Ken and Darren, they done had some hot sex up in the kitchen. I mean, they burnt a hole in the floor, child. And, and pretty much, Darren is pretty much saying that, like, we need to try to find Cortez another place to stay or whatever. But then Ken is still worried about Cortez's whereabouts. So he texts Cortez, and then Cortez pretty much says that he's at a friend's house and he's tipsy and he's going to stay the night. So he says, okay, everything's cool. And they go back for round 2. Then we pretty much also find out that it wasn't Cortez who sent the text to Ken. It was Sean texting as Cortez. Cortez is completely out of it. They literally take his shirt off and they are about to, rape him on camera. And it's just a sad scene because this goes to show you that when you really don't pay attention to the signs, you can be taken advantage of. And that's why I said that, yeah, smelling your own ass can really bring you a world of trouble because you're young, you're naive, you really don't know your surroundings, and you are just completely gullible. And also, in hindsight, the previous episode, Andre warned his ass about the men in Atlanta and that you just can't be just taking drinks from these niggas, and you just can't be believing their stories. You need to kind of back up and proceed with caution. But Cortez has literally put himself in a situation where he's about to get his virginity taken from him in the worst way, and it can be traumatic. So that's what I have, y'all, and I'm just like, man, Cortez, this is so sad to see him get taken advantage of in this situation. But then again, that's why he should have been listening to them when they were letting him know he needs to slow his roll. But Cortez is just, he's kind of like on cloud 9 because he got this guy who's into him, because he's kind of like socially awkward and probably has never really interacted with a guy. So now that he got a guy that's into him, you completely believe everything they tell you. It happened to me in my early 20s. That's why I said I've been in this situation. So I know exactly what this is. And because you're not using, and there were signs in my situation, and I completely ignored them. And all of a sudden, I end up getting my heart broken, and I reeled with that for a long time. But we already see that this is going to be a world of horror for Cortez, and the question is, how is Cortez going to move forward after this situation gets exposed? So that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, I started a new channel called Real Tea Real Talk. I'll have the link in the description box. Click that link and actually subscribe to that channel as well. Also, follow all of my, information in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of Love, Sex, and Marriage. I can't wait to see the stage play. I hope to see you guys there on August 2nd. It's just one night. They're going to have 2 showings of the play. Definitely get your tickets right now before they sell out. Get in that description box right now. Click that link. Get your tickets. Get your family. Get your friends. Get everybody that you're connected with to watch this play, because this is a show that you're not going to want to miss. So until next time, everybody, take care.